What's up, Laker fans? Welcome to the Laker Film Room podcast. I'm Pete, joined by Darius. We are exactly 3 weeks away from the first preseason game. And today I want to talk about a specific aspect of LeBron's game that as he's gotten older, I always wondered, what is the next chapter? I remembered Jordan getting older. I remembered Magic getting older, not as older as we wish he would have, right? He missed a big gap between 31 and 36 when he came back and played for a couple of months. I remember Kobe getting older, although the change in his game was sudden with the Achilles injury. But for guys in that bigger wing size players, of which LeBron is on the upper end of size, there is usually the final chapter of their career when they're great has a lot of it transitions from being sort of that, oh, you're big and you're athletic and we can't handle you at all in the open space and you could put one foot in the ground and elevate and dunk on you. Those guys transition into a more ground-based game a lot of times as they get older. And I wondered what that was going to look like with LeBron. And that is sort of the central thesis underneath my whole, hey, we got to play LeBron out of the post. It's easier on his body. And you can do that without having to be athletic. Use his mind, right? But one aspect that I've undercovered personally, meaning that I have not talked about it enough, is LeBron as a shooter and how he's really developed in that aspect of the game. Shot a career high, 41% from three last year. Just nuts that he's setting career highs at this point of his career. And I want to talk about that with you a bit today, D. He has transitioned into more of that. I'll always remember Draymond when we played them in the playoffs, like flummoxed on his podcast, like, LeBron's doing all this off-ball stuff. And that's weird because I've played this guy a zillion times and he's playing differently than before. Whereas when we played Denver, a lot of LeBron on ball as a pick and roll guy, right? So he's still that skeleton key on offense of years ago, but he's added this element of being a guy who can come off of screens and handoffs and just be a reliable spot up and even movement shooter. So give me your thoughts, D, overall on the transition you've seen and the growth in LeBron's game in this aspect.
So it's a couple of different things for me when it comes to this idea with LeBron. I think everything that you covered in terms of his aging and what it means to age and how that impacts your game athletically. I also think that there's an argument to be made that posting up as a passer is easier on LeBron's body. Posting up as like a scorer at times can be challenging.
This is a great point. And if I can interject one small thing, I asked a basketball person about this, just like, what are your thoughts? Why don't we do this? And their theory was foot congestion, where it's like, you can get kind of tangled up and we play basketball. It's so easy to step on a foot and to where if there are a lot of feet around, that might be something that LeBron avoids just from over the course of 82. It's very easy to get injured that way.
Also, too, like just the physical pounding, we always think of the force that the offensive player can exert on an opponent. And when LeBron is defended by a smaller player, I think that that's totally true. When LeBron is defended by players his own size or dudes who don't mind mugging him, like the Dylan Brooks types, like that's a physical pounding as well for LeBron. And LeBron is absorbing hits as well. And so that's not to say that we shouldn't do more of that or that it's not a strength of his game or that the Lakers can't get great advantage from that. But I often wonder if one of the reasons why LeBron is so comfortable hanging out around the three-point line is that he doesn't want a bunch of forearm shivers getting delivered to his back.
Makes perfect sense.
Anyways, I think a part of the three-point stuff is also just like, hey, I'm comfortable out here from a physical standpoint. I'm comfortable out here from a skill development standpoint. I also think that we often talk about LeBron as being one of the smartest players to ever play. And a part of that is understanding where the game is going and adapting your game to match the tenor and tone of the current league.
Did you watch the episode of their pod, Redick and LeBron, where they talked about the evolution of three-point shooting?
Yes.
Just wanted to throw that in the background because our coach and our star offensive player, and they argued, right? It was a super fascinating episode. If you can find it, I don't know if it's still up online or if they pulled those, but it's really interesting.
Yeah, and one of the things that LeBron always pushes back against about him being a higher volume three-point shooter than he already is his understanding of his value as a cudgel and a weapon and like a bully around the paint, and the value of paint touches, and how his understanding of himself as a player of being one of the best to ever be able to threaten the paint, and his ability as a passer and as a scorer and to get to the foul line and what it means to draw fouls on drives and get into the penalty earlier. There are so many layers to this onion, and LeBron's a genius. And so he understands that a dumb foul that you pick up in the first quarter as he threatens the paint could pay off 5 minutes later when you've also fouled Anthony Davis trying to box him out, and you've also fouled Austin Reeves, who got you going up on an up fake, and then you also fouled, and suddenly it's like we're shooting free throws for the final 3.5 minutes of the quarter. So there's so many pieces to the puzzle of LeBron's understanding of what to do as a basketball player. But the evolution of the game, and 3 being greater than 2, and the influx of the ideas of true shooting percentage and effective field goal percentage as measurements of offensive efficiency. And if you don't think LeBron understands those things, you'd be fooling yourself. And so I think at the most basic level, beyond any of the skill set stuff that we're going to get into and what LeBron is actually good at and how he grew his game, I think it's the environment shifting around him and him understanding, well, I've got to be good at this too. And because I'm the best player ever, guess what? I can be good at that too, particularly because it connected to the weaker part of his game in the context of how teams were already treating him defensively. All of the going under on screens, all of that stuff required him to improve his jump shot in general. And so it only makes sense then to say, I'm going to go from shooting pull up 18 and 20 footers to shooting pull-up three-pointers, or being able to add this to my arsenal. So I think it's a lot of different pieces to the puzzle here, Pete.
I also think AD's limitations as a jump shooter over the last few years puts another requirement on LeBron to do this, in that one of your stars has to be able to be a threat in this respect if you really want to compete. I think you can be fine with one of them not being that, but if the other is not really utilized in that way, it becomes sort of a difficult problem to work around. But again, you end up in an odd place where if AD's not an on-ball guy in terms of where he's most dominant, right? He's best as a screen setter, cutter, right? We can give him the ball, of course, but it's not the same level as LeBron. And LeBron is at his best within the context of this offense, kind of counterbalancing that gravity. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
And so then the question is, who has the ball?
Sure.
And now we've got Austin and D'Lo, and they have done a good job at moving LeBron off of the ball. And so talk to me a little bit about the surrounding talent of the Lakers and kind of how LeBron's shooting fits into that.
Yeah, so I think that, first of all, let's talk about him and AD. I think that if you were to ask LeBron about what makes him and AD such a special duo, it would start with both of their abilities to threaten the basket as often and as well.
Of course, he's very proud of that. Yeah.
Right? It's just like, you're going to have to deal with us down here. And if you don't, then we're going to shoot 60+% on shots around the basket, and we're going to get there repeatedly. And it doesn't matter if you can shoot 40% from 3, because we're controlling the tenor and the tone of the game. It's like playing those Greatest Show on Turf Rams back in the day with Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk and Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce. And it's just like, all of these weapons. And then the way they got beat in the Super Bowl was with Tom Brady dinking and dunking them and running the football and basically keeping the ball out of their hands. And that's what a great paint presence and rim focused attack can be offensively against high scoring 3-point shooting offenses.
When you play that way, you get a ton of free throw attempts too, right? There are all the conspiracy theories about Lakers shot so many free throws and whatnot. It's like, it's all built around this idea of which Darvin's philosophy was very like, I love this. This is my jam. Let's put pressure on the rim. And then I think Redick's argument is more that the efficiency numbers and like, you have to get a certain number of attempts up. This was something I started talking about a lot at the end of last year, where the Lakers were at the bottom of the league at that. And I think Redick's argument is that that matters. It's not something that's the totality of it, but it's actually really important to not be lingering down there.
So let's go to break here, Pete, because when we come back, I want to continue to thread this needle between LeBron, his teammates, and offensive style. And we'll start to get into Redick a little bit after that. So getting back to LeBron and AD really quickly, I think that he would tell you, yeah, we both get to the rim, we both threaten the paint, and that's why we're great together. I also think that if you dig a little bit deeper, it's like, well, I'm also one of the best ball handling wings ever. He could be a point guard, he could be a small forward, it doesn't matter. He's one of the best passers ever, and he's one of the best perimeter dissectors and organizers of offense ever. So put him in a pick and roll with Anthony Davis. And then that would probably be the next level. It's just like, we've got great chemistry together with me as a ball handler and him as a screener and finisher and a guy who is so good around the paint and has such great dexterity and catch radius when we talk about AD. And then after that, I think down the list, he would probably talk about, well, and then also too, like, I can shoot the ball some, and I'm going to provide this sort of counterbalance. But I think that would be much further in terms of what matters.
In his mind. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that would be much less of a priority to LeBron. But I agree with your perspective as well, that it's like, look, one of us got to do this. And it's no coincidence that when the Lakers won the championship, both of them could.
Yep. And which meant since both of them could, neither of them had to be great at it. Like, LeBron wasn't shooting 41% from three the year we won the title. But since AD was also capable of it, it was, 36%? I don't know what he shot that year, but that was fine.
And in the big picture, 36 to 38% is fine. When he's at 41%, it's like, oh my God, you're really good at this. And then that's when the head coach wants to get greedy.
Sure.
Like, oh, you shoot 41% on these. Can we get you to shoot more of these? Because it would be great if you could continue to hit 41% and your attempts go up from 5.8 or whatever it was this past season to 6.8 or over 7. And then you're like, oh, well, we're cooking with fire now. But I think internally, LeBron is always going to have that push and pull of like, I've played the game a certain way my entire life. I want to continue to threaten the basket. In bringing in his other teammates really quickly, Pete, and I want to kick this idea back to you. I think part of the reason that LeBron has evolved as a shooter in the way that he has is that his guards are also skilled, and his guards are good enough passers, and his guards have the ability to be on or off the ball pretty effectively and can make claims that we're good at both of these things or very good at both of these things. And that diversity of offensive skill from his perimeter partners allows him to be able to say, I can do all of these things offensively too. And now we're harder to plan for as a group. And so the types of 3-pointers that I'm getting are more open. They are better organized. They are the result of higher level, consistent offense that is more difficult to stop in the aggregate. And that's a reason why, like, beyond him being healthier or just feeling more comfortable with his jumper, that his percentage can go up the way that it went up from the season before, where he was like 32% to 41%. It's not just, oh, I'm healthier. It's also like, guess what? You got to plan for Austin Reeves doing this and pick and roll with Anthony Davis. And then it's like kick, swing, swing. And then it's me on the weak side taking a wide open 3 in a spot of the floor where I feel super comfortable. right? Or it's me and Austin running pick and rolls, and then it's like Austin short roll, Austin kick out, and then it swings back to LeBron and he's wide open again. And it's just like, these are fish in a barrel shots for LeBron at this stage of his career. So it's like a lot of that too that I think totally helps him. Whereas playing with Dennis Schroeder, who is a very good player, isn't going to afford him those same opportunities. Playing with Russ isn't going to afford him those same chances. It's just like, it's how the pieces fit together that ultimately allow him to get better looks. And he's going to make those better looks at a higher percentage than ones that he was getting with other teammates.
I think as you laid out here, there's some opportunity in having those type of teammates as LeBron's shooting this way. Max had a great year as a shooter, really excited about Connect, obviously, in that respect. This could be something that is a strength of this Lakers team. And the question then becomes, how can they gas up the attempts? Right? How of it? Redick's going to push back, be like, yeah, I heard him say this about Rui in the press conference. He was like, I want Rui to shoot more threes. That was the first thing that now Rui is an example. I don't want to get too far down this track, but I'm not sure that's a great idea because you can lose efficiency as you shoot more. And so how did the Lakers get more three-point attempts while maintaining a certain level of efficiency? And so the first place my mind goes to are handoffs and off-screen type of action. And this is an aspect where our wonderful producer Jeannie pulled up some stats on LeBron. But LeBron was in the 89th percentile last season off of handoffs, but only the 23rd percentile in terms of frequency. So he was very good when he did it, 1.17 points per possession, but only in the 23rd percentile amongst players who did it, 66 handoff possessions. Off of screens, he was in the 83rd percentile at 1.23 points per possession, but was only in the 36th percentile in frequency. So these are things, D, that if they want to do more of, I think that that's something that can also get the wheel going, right? So like talking about the offense, one thing I'm excited about this year, not working for the Lakers, is I can show everybody these things visually in ways I couldn't while I was working with the Lakers. But there's a certain, you can get the wheel started with just handing the ball off to a guy. There's a lot of actions where if you think of the 5-out spacing, 2 corners, 2 wings, 1 player up top, where the wing or the player up top is going to do a handoff like an Oklahoma type of action. And if you are a threat to make that shot, that means the defense has to go over the screen. And that therefore creates advantage. You were talking earlier about how LeBron, that's been an evolution of LeBron's game, is like, if LeBron would start in that right corner, which I think is his best starting spot when we want him to play the shooter role, that evolution of, they would go under that. And now he just buries that shot. And it also, I love that spot because if you watch him shoot threes, it has sort of a backward and to the left sort of lean to it. And if you think about the motion from going from the right corner, kicking up to the right wing, that's that same type of thing. So that's kind of the way LeBron's body naturally wants to move as he shoots anyway. So anyway, he's gotten really good at this particular handoff. And if they have to go over the screen, now you're basically in a pick and roll with LeBron James and the wheel is already started. It's a side pick and roll. He's going middle. You're in great shape. He's going to spray the ball out to a shooter, get all the way to the rack, or hit the roll man. And you hit on this. It's that multitude of skills around him where you have to respect different guys, because if it is a situation where it's Dennis, they're going to help off of him. And whatever the end result is, it's going to be like, hey, if we got to end up giving up a 3 to Dennis Schroeder, okay. The Russ is an even more extreme example of that. So those opportunities are not there to the same degree. So talk to me a little bit about that idea.
Let's go to break here again, because we're going to be deep in the weeds here with offensive stuff for our last segment. It's important to get him more reps in that situation for sure. And so everything that you described, particularly with him coming from, you talked about the right wing. Are you talking about the right wing when you're facing the basket?
Yeah, say you're standing at the half court circle, looking at the basket you're trying to score in. So the corner that's to your right.
So it's interesting because LeBron, his best shooting spot as a 3-point shooter is from the left shoulder area. He shot like 45 or 46% from that spot. And that sort of I'm a natural left-hander when talking about LeBron, right? He does everything left-handed except for shoot a basketball. And I don't know if he's left eye dominant. Like a lot of left-handed
we might get
people
into
are.
some very geeky shooting and maybe antiquated shooting ideas. But yeah, like that whole, if you are a closed-toed shooter, right?
Yes.
Meaning that, which LeBron is, he's got that sort of lean back into the left. You can kind of line up with the rim with your eye and your feet. And I don't know, it's a very comfortable spot for him. This is a different spot of the floor than I was talking about, but you're correct about this for sure.
Yeah, and so he's so good from that spot. And almost every one of his like pull-up dagger threes comes from like either a little bit left center of the top of the key, or he brings the ball up the left wing and just fires away. And a player who shot like this a lot was Peja Stojakovic, for example. He loved to shoot the ball going left. So Peja's a right-hander, but he loved to shoot the ball going left because he was a closed-toe shooter as well. And so even though his momentum was taking him left, his shoulder was very much square to
it lines
basket.
Everything up, even though it's weird because it's like there are a lot of things kind of pointing not toward the basket, but it lines up the key stuff right with the basket.
But the elbow was right there, and so he was feeling it. And so LeBron is so good at that shot. And so there's also the opportunity for him to come up the left wing.
Of course, and then he's getting downhill going to his right hand.
And then he's getting downhill to his right hand. But if guys go under and try to cheat him to meet him there, he's pulling the ball back.
And he loves that shot. Yeah.
And he loves that shot as well. And so that handoff action to me has the potential to be even more dangerous because he is driving very hard to his right hand. Like, if you go over the top of this, I'm killing you. Like I'm getting all the way downhill and then spraying weak side corner coming off of a pick. If you pinch too hard, and then if you don't, if that's empty corner with him and AD, he's got the lob to AD. It's just like there's so many things that you can do with LeBron coming up the left sideline and going to his right hand. It's like one of my favorite actions that the Lakers could get into, especially if when LeBron comes up that sideline, if there's no one at that elbow area already and it's just the big and it's empty corner, that's such a difficult action to guard, especially when then it's like Rui lurking baseline and making that cut. There's so many different things the Lakers can do with LeBron and AD basically playing two-man game on a cleared side, because with him being able to hit that three, it's like pick your poison. And if he can continue to shoot that shot at a high efficiency, all that handoff stuff can flow right into him being able to say like, oh no, you can't cheat me here. And then they can even run two-man action with AD and then put him into the post. Instead of diving hard to the rim, he's diving to post-ups. If they try to switch that, then AD can then switch against a smaller player, the guy that was on LeBron. There's like a lot of things that you can run simply out of DHO action between LeBron and AD there that I think it can be a foundational action, even though it's like so simple when we're just talking like weak side DHO between LeBron and AD, but that's something that can truly work.
Yeah, especially if you have the talent around him where you can't cheat off of them. I'm going to try to pull some video. I know this stuff can be hard to track when it's just audio conversation. And again, I'm excited that this year we can start putting some video to it a little bit more. And so I'm going to try and pull some footage of some of the stuff we're talking about in this pod over the next couple of days. But yeah, it's exciting what they can do. And I think that Redick is very much of the mind. If you think of handoffs and off-screen action, JJ Redick did that for an entire career. And that's like, he understands that style of offense very well.
Can I kick an idea to you though, Pete? We're talking about LeBron as the recipient of a DHO. He is the guy coming off of the screen, quote unquote, and receiving the handoff. A part that I'm very interested in the Lakers exploring in more of a traditional 5-out style is LeBron as the shooter and being a DHO guy who is being the guy who's handing the ball off.
So how does he get the shot then? If he's the guy handing it off to someone else?
Then when that guy looks to turn the corner, that effectively pick and roll action with LeBron instead of diving. No, instead of LeBron diving off of the DHO, he is popping into space. And so one of the things I'm looking for LeBron to do a little bit more of is like pick and pop and DHO into popping actions.
Bro, you remember how this drove me crazy? I used to rant about this to you and Mike, especially like the over penetration, and I would send you clips like See how there's nobody in the pick and pop area? This place is wide open. There's 8 freaking bodies in the paint. I'm exaggerating, but basically, there's so many opportunities last year because we had such a downhill type of mindset in terms of attacking the basket, which is great. But if you don't counterbalance that, like there's all sorts of rewards out on the perimeter to take advantage of that.
And so talk to me a little bit then about, because I think that's an opportunity for those attempts to go up. You're looking for, where can we get attempts? Well, one way for LeBron to start to get more attempts is mixing in more popping rather than rolling. When he sets screens or when he's running in DHO actions and a guy comes off him, he's planting that foot. He is opening up to the basket and he's looking to get downhill, as he should. He's LeBron freaking James and he's a great finisher around the basket. But am I off base here in thinking that picking and popping and DHO action and him popping back into space, that could be an opportunity for him to get one additional 3 attempt a game?
You're absolutely right. And it's an opportunity for both him and the ball handler. So the place I go to are the pick and rolls with Austin and LeBron or D'Lo and LeBron, where LeBron turns into that Karl Malone power forward type of guy. And that's where he's the guy with the ball on the handoffs. And you can run all sorts of stuff with both of those guys, where LeBron starts out with the ball and then it's a ghost screen, it's pick and pop. And like if 2 go with LeBron and they get, like D'Lo's wide open at the top of the 3, he's going to kill you on that shot. LeBron and Austin have often become our end of game ball screen situation where they can run it both ways. And that's where it's the 3-level scoring ability. If you're a threat at all 3 levels, and Austin gets there in a different way than a lot of guys do, but he's super efficient around the rim. He can hit those kind of leaning 8-footers that you really have to be good at to be efficient in these type of situations. On short rolls, can hit floaters, just very skilled, right? If you can do that, then it's that pick your poison that you're talking about. And this is very crunch time basketball, which I think we have had some crunch time problems the last few years that we'll probably do a pod about. But this is a great opportunity to exploit that, because getting to your point of popping, that if LeBron is popping, the defense is either going to give up an open 3 to him or they're going to have to respect that. If they respect that, it takes another body out of the paint, and all of a sudden, you've created a better opportunity for D'Lo. You've created a better opportunity to get to the rim for Austin, right? Like D'Lo added this, and maybe I just missed it a couple years before, but it was sort of this double shimmy. Yeah. Where it was just the coolest move where it's like an inside out dribble twice, and he would mix up people on that. But you need a certain amount of space to be able to get through there. And so just opening up opportunities around the rim for guys who aren't going to just like plant a foot in the ground and dunk on you, that has that additional benefit. So not only is it a chance to boost LeBron's attempts on the perimeter, it also creates more opportunities for the guards.
Well, this is also, Pete, and I don't want to start trading players right now, like during this podcast when we're talking about LeBron. But this is also the argument for the skill guard who can also get downhill a little bit more.
You're completely unguardable at that point, right? Like you have reliable offense. If you can get that guy, it creates just unsolvable problems.
Well, that also opens up the pop so much more, because one of the things that the Lakers guards struggle with is even when they're playing pick and roll basketball, it is very hard for them to like turn the corner and basically just say like, I'm putting my head down and getting to the basket. The player who does that best on the team is still LeBron James. And it's one of the reasons why that's still such an important part of the Lakers offense and his understanding of what's important for the context of the team. So when he's pushing back against his soon-to-be head coach about, well, hold on now, don't just have me out here shooting 1 billion 3s a game. I need to threaten the rim. He understands that I'm one of the only dudes on the team that does this specific thing. Finding another guard who can do that part of things also allows LeBron to like pop a little bit more, because the roll gravity that you are getting from the big that collapses the defense, you are doing that yourself as the ball handler. And so it's just a helpful trait to have on your basketball team.
Just a side note, that roll gravity that you're talking about, we haven't really talked about that within the this conversation. it's part of the reason why I wanted Hayes over Wood when we thought both of them were healthy, is that if it's Hayes in that spot, just offensively, you go to a whole nother level. Now, again, I don't think we have enough defense to go all the way to where we want to go. But I think this offense can be just incredible. And I think that having those role threats, AD and Hayes at those spots, opens up all of these actions that we're talking about, to where when we're back here in the present tense, where we have not traded for that guy who can hit a pull-up three and get downhill, and it opens up opportunities for Austin and D'Lo who don't have that, right? So if we're dealing in reality and not the hey, I wish we had this type of guy, like, you have to make it easier for those type of players. And they're good. Like, I don't want to act like they're not good at these type of shots, but you have to alleviate as much congestion as you can. And so this is part of when I would argue with people about the 3-point attempt topic. And my point was, we can get more attempts just based off of style of play. We ran an odd, like, very downhill 5-out, and it was cool. Like, by the end of the year, we were doing, I hope we keep a lot of the pick and roll stuff that we did last year, and just there was a lot of good stuff from last year to keep and build off of. That they don't have to change the whole thing. But if you really if it's really important to you to get 5 more 3-point attempts per game, there are ways to do that within the offense with the same players. That is just a shift in mentality where it's like, freaking pop to the open space. And that's where the film room becomes a great spot, where it's like, look at this, guys, this is wide open. Stop running into the freaking brick wall. Pop into the open space, get a nice open three. You're going to make the shot. Everyone's going to be happy.
Also, too, potentially having a movement shooter like Connect.
I'm so excited.
Is just an ingredient that this roster did not have before.
Prince could do it. We didn't do it enough with Prince, right? So, like, Prince has had a talent for this, and I don't want to act like he didn't provide the pressure on the rim also, which is the difference, I think, between the two. But I just want to acknowledge that he did that well.
Yeah, and Prince shot the ball pretty well after that early season stretch where it was just like, what the hell is going on with Taurean Prince? He was like so bad as an outside shooter, which only added to like our frustration with like, why are you playing this dude so much on defense, like for his defensive stuff?
There were so many shoulder slump possessions, right? The type where you get a good look in transition and then you feel the crowd starting to swell on that wide open corner three that he's about to hit. And then it's like, oh, damn it.
No, it was like, I think we were into December and I was just like, if Taurean Prince misses one more momentum three, I'm just going to like, anyways.
And then he was killer the rest of the year.
He was very good. And I think he's going to help Milwaukee for those same reasons. It's like in the right sized role, he can be good. And that was like part of, I think, our frustration as Lakers fans. It wasn't this utter distaste with Taurean Prince as a basketball player. It was the fact that his role was so big within the context of how effective he was going to be when trying to fill that role.
Sorry, back to Connect, though. He adds this element for sure with that counter pressure on the rim.
He totally does. And having LeBron play in lineups with more players who are effective 3-point shooters is going to free him up to do a lot of stuff that he's naturally good at. And the thing that we've talked about with AD saying, like, it's going to take us a little bit of time to learn stuff, I think it's the exact stuff that you're talking about is like, hey, pop more. Like, start to get a natural feel for how you float into the spots of the court and move with purpose into the spots on the court where that stuff is natural. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be natural on day one for AD to do some of this stuff, or even for LeBron to do some of this stuff, because this isn't the style that they've played for the majority of their careers.
It's very important to maintain the integrity of the spacing within this style. So that means like pop when you're supposed to pop, relocate when you're supposed to relocate. Because if you don't, it shuts down the offense. And this is where there's danger. I remember when I was learning 5-out principles, I was watching a coaching video, and they were explaining how if you're say you're off the ball and defender's playing ball denial on you. So they're right up in your jersey. Say you're a shooter, they're worried about you. And so they're making sure you don't get the ball. And what some players will do is, especially shooters, a lot of times shooters are not more athletic than the guy that's guarding them. Because if they were that kind of shooter and more athletic, they're like the best player on the team. Anyhow.
Yes.
being at an athletic disadvantage, a shooter will sometimes not back cut that because they know they're not going to get away from that guy. Even though he's got that ball denial, he's still going to be able to recover because he's bigger, more athletic than you. But what happens if you don't cut, you shut that side of the floor off for passing options. Just the whole half of the floor is gone. It jams up the entire action for everybody. So the point is, still cut. You still cut through because it opens up space for the next action to happen. And those are the specifics that are going to be the storyline of the early part of the season, is how well do the Lakers learn this? And so that's going to be an exciting thing to cover. I really enjoyed this pod with you, D. Got to wrap up. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday. But until then, you've been listening to the Laker Film Room Podcast. We'll catch you guys next time.
James has got it in low to McHale. McHale wants to turn. He's double teamed. Just pass out in front. Broken up by Worthy. Tip to Magic. Worthy dies on his belly. Magic scores.
There's Magic got it. Magic fires. It's good. The Lakers win the game. The Lakers win the game. Rebound of Lonnie. 3 seconds left. Van Exel to win it. It's on the way. Good.
Kobe Bryant, 48 points, 16 rebounds.
Shot with his 8th block shot that ties an NBA Finals record.
A lot of Laker fans sticking around for this.
You're seeing something that's very rare indeed. A Laker to get MVP chance
in Boston. Of all places.
Are you kidding me?
Kobe, hard to believe.
Are you kidding me? Unreal. Are you kidding me?
Lakers looking to push. Bryant spinning in the lane. Back for Gasol. Pretty pass. And it's back to a 3-point game.
Kobe Bryant picked up by Bell.
There's the move. 2, 1.
Miss it.
Unbelievable. For the victory. It's over.
Shot clock now to 5. Bryant. Yes. And that was a little tap to Alvin Gentry.
Add insult to injury, Kobe. I mean, what a shot. I mean, you can't defend that. Are you kidding me? 2.1 seconds remaining. Denver a foul to give. Jokic trying to disrupt Rondo. He puts it in. Here's Davis, 4-3 in the win. Oh, it's good! Anthony Davis has won it for the Lakers! James again. Oh, he hits another one. LeBron James putting together a closing quarter against the Nuggets.
This historic 2020 NBA championship belongs to the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers conquer the bubble, and banner number 17 will soon hang in the rafters.